And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Tech Radar. My name is Matt Phillips. I'm joined by Home Tech Editor Gerald Lynch. How you doing, Gerald?
I'm very well, thank you, Matt.
Good. Hopefully everything's working. Guys, if you're joining us in the chat, welcome. This is our Ghost of Tsushima live review. Gerald's review has just gone up on site. We're going to chat all about it, and we want to take your questions as well from the chat. So if you are in the chat, leave your questions, and we will get to them at the end. If you're watching this after the fact, then you've missed out. Why weren't you here live? If you subscribe on the YouTube channel, hit the bell notification. It'll notify you when we go live, and that's fun. You can also join us on Facebook as well. We're live on Facebook, so welcome to you guys as well. Ghost of Tsushima, Gerald. It's exciting stuff. The new Sony PlayStation 4 exclusive. I feel like a long time coming, a really long time coming, and I feel like perhaps a little bit unfairly, been a little bit overshadowed. Obviously, it's coming hot on the heels of Last of Us Part 2, and that game's massive. Everybody's talking about that game. So maybe it's worth starting off. Can you give us the elevator pitch for Ghost of Tsushima? Why should we be excited about this game?
Live the life of a samurai in feudal Japan.
You've sold me. I'm in.
It's not bad, right? I think it's been both unfairly and fairly called Assassin's Creed Japan.
Right.
And that, I think, does tell you a lot about what to expect from Ghost of Tsushima. It's very much one of those, it's a game in that open world mold, start off like a little weak samurai, and then as you explore more and more of a very large map, you become more accomplished by hitting on different distractions and side quests along the way, as well as the main quest. I've had a lot of fun with it. It's definitely not without its problems.
Right.
And I think if you've played a lot of open world games this generation, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Red Dead Redemption 2, you're probably going to feel like there's quite a lot of familiarity to it. But it does have a beautiful world and a hell of a lot of gameplay, really fun combat. So there's lots to love, as well as some things that could perhaps have been maybe a little bit massaged better.
Yeah, sure. And, something you mentioned in there, people have been crying out since Assassin's Creed first came out, since it launched. People have been crying out for an Assassin's Creed in Japan. And so does that feel like this game? Is that really what this game is going for?
I don't know if that's the intention of the developers, but it definitely is what you end up with.
Yeah.
You've got the same sort of stealth assassinations. You have, let me perhaps rephrase that. It's definitely like later day Assassin's Creed. You're not looking at like the early, very stealth focused, very quite linear Assassin's Creed. This is very much an open world game, like the more recent ones are.
Right.
But in terms of that Japanese setting, yeah, it absolutely nails anything you expected or wanted from that.
Fantastic stuff. And one of the things I read through your review, one of the things that stuck out to me was this section where you talk about becoming a more accomplished samurai as you explore the map, earn better weapons and armor, improve powers by exploring shrines. And a little bell went off in my head and went, that sounds a lot like Breath of the Wild. And again, you mentioned it earlier on in the thing, what you were saying. So yeah, are there vibes of that in this game?
Oh, there's definitely vibes. I think you can take elements of Breath of the Wild, you can take elements of The Witcher 3, you can take elements of Red Dead, even like Batman, like Arkham City, and all of those kind of components will come together, dress it up in, some samurai armor, and you've got Ghost of Tsushima. But when it comes to the shrines specifically, they're quite different from what you'd see in Breath of the Wild. Now, Breath of the Wild, they're very specifically, every shrine gives you a kind of a different challenge, right? So one of them might be a combat challenge, one of them might be some sort of puzzle that needs to be solved. The shrines here are more environmental platforming puzzles.
Okay.
So as Jin Sakai, the hero of the tale, you'll have to perhaps climb a mountainside and then jump across some trees, maybe swing your grappling hook to get to these shrines which are cut off from the rest of the world unless you know a specific route. If you do that, then you'll get access to a charm which will attach to your weapon and give you a little boost. Maybe that's a higher defense stat or a higher attack rating, or makes you more stealthy when you're trying to be a bit sneaky and stuff like that. But they're very fun, and they always look great.
Fantastic stuff. And one of the things that I think they focused on when showing off this game is kind of its immersiveness, right? And I know they recently, I think, since you got the game, released a patch where you could have an even more minimal HUD. Like, it's all about immersion into this world. And one of the things that they were showing off in regards to that was the navigation system, where you don't necessarily see big beacons off in the distance. You follow the wind. And that kind of scares me a little bit. I think, it makes me think back to like navigation systems that were in Shadow of the Colossus, right, where you had to like follow the light that was shining off your sword, and I hated it because I never knew where I was going. So how does that mechanic work, and how did you feel about it as you were playing through?
So you have an overworld map, and that is full of icons to sort of act as waypoints. It's kind of, the world map is like covered in a fog of war at first.
Right.
You can see the outline of the island, but you can't see the details until you visit it. The guided wind, as this navigation tool is called, is really good. So it kind of feeds into how Ghost of Tsushima looks. The whole world feels like it's in motion.
Right.
So the individual blades of grass, the trees sway in the wind, there's smoke billowing out of burnt out ruins. There are leaves in the air and dust kicking up from certain landscapes and stuff. So every time you want to go to a specific location on the map, say you've set a marker, or you just want to say, I'm going to head north, you give a quick swipe up on the DualShock controller, and that gives a gust of wind that animates the world around you. Sort of like a sort of thing. Like, and that will last for a few seconds, and you'll see like the trees will sway in a certain direction, or the grass will sway in a certain direction.
Right.
So you can just follow that kind of pattern, which after a little while becomes quite intuitive.
Okay.
Then eventually, when you're in the vicinity of your destination, you will see a little map marker.
I'm with you.
The idea is that you don't have this hovering kind of settlement icon wherever you go.
Sure.
It's only when you're getting closer to it, and probably by the time you're close enough for that marker to arrive, you can see where you are anyway. What's interesting is there's no mini map, so you're either jumping to that world map or you're using the guiding wind map.
Right.
And there's no compass. Now, the compass element I did find a little bit annoying, because it can be a case of, okay, I'm going to stand on the spot for a second and drop. Like, at some point, if you do stand on the spot, like, Jin will pick up like a leaf and just go like that, and you'll see where it goes. So there's nice little details like that.
Yeah.
But sometimes I didn't want to jump to the minimap. I just wanted to head north, and I didn't want to have to set a north point, swipe to see where the wind was blowing, and then head north.
Yeah.
So some sort of small compass would have been appreciated. But on the whole, the guiding wind mechanic really works and does keep you immersed, which is cool.
Brilliant. And I guess the thing that's going to keep people coming back to this game, the kind of the core of it, is the combat, right? And one of the things you talk about in your review, and they've talked about in the sort of press material for this, is this kind of, you can either play it as the ghost, which is like considered dishonorable, or you can play it with honor and face people head on. How did you find the sort of balance between those two, and are you really punished, I guess, for going one way over the other?
Well, maybe let's give a little bit about the story as well, because that plays in how these two systems work.
Sure.
So you star as Jin Sakai, who is the orphan son of a Japanese feudal lord. And the game kicks off on the eve of a Mongolian invasion of the island of Tsushima. This isn't a spoiler, because this all happens in the first 10 seconds of the game and has been revealed in the trailers.
Sure.
But you're part of like the first wave of samurai who take on this huge Mongolian invasion force as they hit the beaches. And they're totally wiped out.
Right.
They're totally wiped out. You're left for dead. And you end up being a surviving samurai, at least as far as you can tell, on on the island. Now, what separates the Mongolian force from the samurai force is that they're sneaky, right? They're happy to take you out from afar with big, heavy artillery, and they're really brutal, and they'll use every like trick in the book to beat the Japanese samurai. Whereas the samurai have a code of honor where you have to, stand down your opponent and look him in the eye when you kill him. So when Jin does kind of find his feet again, he realizes that he's going to have to take on a different sort of approach if he's going to be able to defeat these Mongols.
Right.
And to do that, he might have to take on some more ninja-like aspects, where he's sneaking around people, using equipment like smoke bombs and throwing stars in order to take them on and beat them at their own game, so to speak. However, he's been brought up in the samurai code, which is like this very honourable, you must have like a direct connection to the person you're engaging in combat with. And throughout the game, there are flashbacks to, is Jin doing the right thing by his ancestry, or is being the saviour of his people more important by any means necessary? So you'll never push down one path or the other. You can mix it up. So you can go all guns blazing into combat, or you can kind of take an approach and pick people off. And every now and again, if you do go for that kind of more sneaky approach, you'll sit like Jin and say, "I'm sorry, I attacked you in a dishonourable way," or words to those effects.
Right.
And it's a story beat. It comes up as you go through the game, whether he's doing the right thing or not. But you're never actively punished for doing one thing or the other. And you can always explore both sets of skills and maximize both skill trees as you like. One area where perhaps you would be better off going for a stealthy approach is there's lots of missions where there are hostage situations.
Right.
So if you alert the guards, they'll make a move to kill the hostages, so maybe you want to be a bit sneaky there. But the combat's a lot of fun, and one of my favourite parts of it is the standoff mechanic. Yeah. So it kind of acts like if you've seen any like samurai films, it's this sort of moment where the two combatants stare each other down and they're waiting for their moment to like just do one slice hit to kill them. Yeah. And you do that by like you hold down the attack button, you wait for the visual cue where the attack is going to attack, and then you release. And then as you go through the game, you can build up that skill so that it goes to like more and more and more attackers at once. And take them all down in one hit. There's also like one-on-one duels in the game, which act as like boss battles, and then you've got to make use of like parry attacks and dodges, and they're really tough. And they're like quite cinematic as well. The camera angle shifts, and it almost becomes like a fighting game, like some like Bushido Blade or something like that. Still using the same sort of mechanics, but that kind of shift in camera angle changes the tone. You feel a lot more tied to it. It kind of reminded me of some of the sword fights or the lightsaber battles, I should say, in The Force Awakens. No, sorry, not The Force. It was The Force Unleashed. Sorry, right. I'm getting my Force mixed up. There's too many Force.
Easy to do.
Yeah, and it's like those moments where the swords will clash and then they'll have a chat against each other, like, sure, you should know better. Dishonor. But it's very well done, very cinematic.
I think, the cinematic angle is something that they've been going for, right? And there's like a black and white mode in the game, and you can pick subbed or dubbed, and these kind of things. They're really trying to make it feel like those old school samurai films. And so I guess from what you're saying, they definitely achieved that, right?
Yeah. So there's an even like a visual filter on the game called Kurosawa modes. So for those familiar, Akira Kurosawa is one of the most highly respected directors of all time, and perhaps the most famous Japanese director of all time. So he did films like Seven Samurai, Throne of Blood, these real kind of pillars of Japanese cinema, and in a lot of senses, the forebears to a lot of Hollywood cinema. So George Lucas considered Akira Kurosawa like a key influence in Star Wars. If you look at Sergio Leone's cowboy films, like spaghetti westerns, are essentially Akira Kurosawa samurai films,
right,
in Mexico.
Sure.
Right? So very, very influential. So the dev team have developed a black and white filter / film grain mode, which takes advantage of trying to replicate that Akira Kurosawa film effect. So get that really dramatic contrast. It's not very easy to play the game like that because it's sometimes you need those coloured visual cues to kind of engage better with the world. But in terms of replicating the feel of or the visual feel of Kurosawa film, and they do a really good job. And there's a really very in-depth, detailed photo mode you can use if you really like, and setting up the perfect shot and sharing them on your social platforms and stuff like that.
Brilliant stuff.
What I would say is perhaps the game doesn't quite match the heart of the Kurosawa films. There's, you've got this tale of redemption and perhaps revenge, as Jin tries to kind of rebuild and retake his island that he's familiar with. But you never really feel that engaged with the characters.
Right.
Jin is quite he's very stoic. He's a very serious samurai, and you can understand why that would be the case. One, from the fact that he just sees his people be massacred.
Sure.
And two, historical interpretations of the samurai code that was very serious or you're very stoic individual. When you're playing a game that I think you could quite easily play for 80, maybe 100 hours, you need someone who's got a bit more charm, a little bit more humor, I feel.
Right.
And there's a few side characters who kind of maybe fill that gap, but for long stretches of it, you're very much in his world and his mind, and it can be a little bit. I'm not going to say depressing. I don't think that's the case, but you definitely could do with, to use the Assassin's Creed analogy again.
Yeah.
He is more Altair than he is Ezio. So,
I'm with you. That makes sense. And it's interesting. I felt that way for a long time about God of War. Not that Kratos was a depressing character necessarily, but certainly he was one note. He was angry. That was his thing. And in kind of their revamp of that game, introducing Atreus and having these companion characters to lighten the mood a bit, right? And have those comedic moments for these long games, I think is necessary. Before then, we jump into final questions. Maybe you can give us your final thoughts. I know you gave it 4.5 stars out of 5 on site.
4 out of 5.
Oh, apologies. 4 out of 5. So sorry.
4 out of 5, 8 out of 10. That's in the realm.
Who would you recommend this game for? People who enjoy X, Y, and Z will love this game.
I would say people who've been longing for an open world game will very much enjoy this. If you've played and enjoyed open world games and you want more of the same, dive right in. If you've spent 120 hours on Assassin's Creed Odyssey and think, that's enough of that for me, you may still feel the same about Ghost of Tsushima. I don't feel it does have some really cool original ideas. The guided wind mechanics cool. It makes good use of that Japanese setting to inform its gameplay. So you have I think bamboo strike mini games, which help you to improve your defenses. And there are moments where you can find really beautiful points in a very beautiful game. May I add? I played it on a PS4 Pro, so 4K HDR. And it is up there with the best looking games on the system, within top 3 maybe. I personally think it may be the best that I've played in terms of looks. Obviously, the few games I haven't played on the system yet. I still haven't played The Last of Us. I know that's meant to be very attractive, but it's very much up there, right?
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, you have these moments where you find these really beautiful spots on the map, and you sit and you write a haiku, and that gives you like a little vanity item for doing that. And it has these interesting things. You can follow a golden bird around to find a secret location on the map, and it does do well to dress up those open world tropes in a way that you haven't seen before.
Mm-hmm.
Mechanically, it feels very similar. So I guess to wrap, it's got some really fun combat. It's got a really well realized setting, but its storytelling / characters are a bit dull.
Mm-hmm.
And you may feel that it lacks originality if you play similar games in the genre. If you like the genre though, crack on, because you're going to have a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun. I'm intending to carry on playing beyond my review, which for a game that I've now put dozens and dozens and dozens of hours into says a lot, I think. Often,
yeah, for sure.
For a little bit of insight for people who don't know the review kind of process, we have to put as many hours into these games in as short a period of time as we can to give you like a real overview of it. And by the end of it, you can feel quite burnt out on a game. I don't feel like that at all. I feel like I want to go back and see more of it. So I think that's really a testament to how much fun you can have with it, provided we take those happy acts on board.
Sure, it makes sense. So let's dive into the questions then. We had quite a few similar questions. So we had this one from Robert Bartman on Facebook, also Mark D on YouTube, relatively similar questions. What is the difficulty like? Is it more Assassin's Creed or Sekiro? Am I going to rage quit? Am I going to hate it?
It's really interesting because when you start off, I was getting my arse handed to me, right?
Yeah.
Like, even these little guys running around in rags were like pulling me apart. But what I really like about the game is it does reward skill.
Mm-hmm.
The more you play, the better you get at realizing sort of enemy feints and when to parry and stuff like that. I am rubbish at Dark Souls and Sekiro and those kinds of games, and however much I want to love them, I find them just a little bit too frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
I would say this veers more towards sort of Assassin's Creed territory than it does Dark Souls, although it's not a button masher. So I think it has a nice balance.
Yeah. Fair enough. Are you still there, Gerald?
I am still there. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, I can. I thought we'd lost you there for a second. We'll move on then to a question from Anime ZXZ.
So, before we move on, it's worth noting
that
the game features combat stances. So you have 4 different stances that you can take that correspond to 4 different enemy types that you'll find around the map, and then layers of attacks that you can use within that.
Right.
So you have a heavy attack, a light attack. You've got very heavy attacks if you hold down a button. You can unlock different sorts of attacks within those stances as you play. So you do get a really quite layered approach to attacks. So whereas I think in Dark Souls and Sekiro, a lot of it is more down to knowing an enemy's battle patterns, so when to attack and when not to attack. This is far more about knowing what skills to use against what enemy. And in the heat of a battle where you're maybe taking on four different types of enemies, know how to switch between which at what point is kind of the core of the combat.
Really interesting. And I suppose when you master a combat system like that, it's incredibly satisfying when you become one with the samurai and become really zen and slice through 6 guys in one go. So yeah, a question we had from Anime ZXZ. Are the graphics as good as the gameplay that we've seen released in the State of Plays? How did you feel about the graphics? Yeah?
100%. At some point, so I'm playing on a PS4 Pro, so that means I'm using it for 4K and HDR TV, so it's looking probably about as good as it can. It's truly beautiful. in places. Now, of course, any gameplay trailer is going to show off the most beautiful places, and you will get stretches where it's like, oh, I'm in another forest, right? But then you'll open up onto like this really beautiful golden temple, or you'll be walking through like a forest where like all the leaves are gold and cascading, or you'll be going across this like marshy, smoky swamp, and it's just like, wow, I could be there. Sunsets are incredible, the lighting effects are incredible. The detail on character models, especially like Jin himself, is phenomenal. Jin is a bit boring, but like the motion capture for like the cutscenes and stuff is really great, like especially like the facial mocap. I would say perhaps like it doesn't feel as lived in as some games. So like you look at like Dead Redemption and like you hit Valentine and you know got people wandering about and everyone feels like they're doing their own little life, right? It can feel a little bit more static. The kind of mise en scène of it, you know, the hanging around. But in terms of like landscaping, it's phenomenal. I can't speak for the performance on a base PlayStation console on the original PlayStation, but I didn't experience like any slowdown or stutter or anything like that. I think it looked like it was running. I can't confirm this, so I don't want to set expectations incorrectly, but it looks like it's definitely hitting a solid 30 at all times. I'm not sure if it has like a scaling frame rate or scaling visuals. I haven't been able to confirm that. But I can say that on the PS4 Pro it was solid all the way through.
Yeah, and the gameplay that you're seeing next to us now, guys, that's all running on PS4 Pro. If you're interested in what the game runs like on PS4, little plug, this Friday, I'm going to be going live on Tech Radar's YouTube channel and Facebook page and playing the first couple of hours of the game on my base PS4. So if you want to join there, you can jump in the chat, say hi, and see what it's running like on my PS4. Maybe it'll be a disaster. Who knows? It'll be exciting to see.
I doubt it.
I very much doubt it as well. So we actually had a question about that. How does the game play on PS4 compared to PS4 Pro? Obviously, we've just covered that. This person says, it's Gonzi on YouTube. They're considering buying a PS4 Pro, but with PS5 on the horizon, it's a tough choice. Gonzi, don't buy a PS4 Pro with 6 months to go until the PS5. If you've got a normal PS4, it will last you, mate. Don't worry about it. Where are we at? So, an interesting question here that I don't think has been officially announced, but something we can definitely touch on. Tyler Barber on YouTube says, will this game be getting a free upgrade on PS5?
I had a chat with Sucker Punch, the developers of the game, ahead of release, and they would not be drawn on to whether or not there would be a PS5 release. I would say, if you look at the pattern of PlayStation exclusives in the past, Shadow of the Colossus got a remake, Last of Us Part 1 got a remake.
Yeah.
The whole kind of messaging around this new generation of consoles is that things are going to be a lot more cross-gen, right? Now, they're not, I don't think Sony in their right mind would announce a PS5.
You were very still then. Sorry, go on, Gerald.
I'm messing with you. So I think at this point in like the PlayStation 4 life cycle, right? You're a few months out from. Let's talk about game development. Let's talk about game development.
Let's get into it.
Games like Ghost of Tsushima and The Last of Us 2 cost like millions and millions and millions to make, right? So they come out late in a console generation to maximize the amount of people who've got a PlayStation 4, so they can sell to the most amount of people possible. Especially when you're talking about platform exclusive, right? Sure. They can't make money off of the Xbox One sale here. Although maybe eventually a PC sale, as we're seeing more PlayStation games releasing for PC. So they have to make sure they keep that initial launch window as free of rumor around any other upgrades as possible, right? So I would say, given the history of PlayStation exclusives, it's a safe bet to assume that if not in the near future, at some point in the future, there would be a Ghost of Tsushima version for PS5. So, because that not only maximizes the return on development for PS4 by selling it now when there's no PS5 version announced, but also you get that second kick for the PS5 first timers when that eventually does come out. Right? So it would make sense for that to eventually happen.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't expect it anytime soon. No.
Sure. Let's see if we can bang out a few more of these questions before we close out then. So, where was this one that I just saw? Yeah, here we go. So, oh man, I'm going to really struggle with your name, unfortunately. Rafhan? We're going to go with Rafhan on YouTube. How is the stealth action, and is the AI any good? I thought that was an interesting question. How did you feel about the AI in the game?
So, the stealth feels all right. It feels about as good as the recent Assassin's Creed games, i.e., they pay less attention to stealth these days. This is a Kitman, you know. It's not Dishonored.
Mm-hmm.
You can choose to play in a stealthy or ranged sort of approach if you like.
Sure.
I primarily took the full frontal approach because I really like the sword combat in this. I think that's the game at its strongest. You can play stealthy though. In terms of the AI, they're not the smartest.
Okay.
Invaders out there, I'd say. It's always a funny one with stealth games and AI because for it to be enjoyable, they have to be working in readable patterns. Right?
Exactly.
I need to be able to plan my attack so that I feel like I'm some kind of crazy like ninja killer that no one can see me.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I never really know how to answer that in stealth game. It depends on what Rafhan wants, really.
Yeah.
If he wants a stealth experience where he feels like he can read the map and know where people are going to go and attack in a way that's going to let him move unseen, then yes, you can do that very well. If he's looking for AI that is believable and unpredictable and perhaps reacts in a way that normal people would to all of their mates being killed around them, then maybe not. In terms of that kind of stealth AI, pattern-based movements and stuff like that, though, and take the higher ground, take out the people higher up on the map who are keeping an eye out for you, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it works. It works well.
Interesting stuff. We got a question here from Wildby here. Let's go with that on YouTube. And they're asking about how likely we think this is to come to other platforms. Now, normally, this would be a bit of a ridiculous question. This is a PlayStation exclusive. But we're seeing Horizon come to PC. We're seeing Death Stranding come to PC. Obviously, these games at this point are years old, especially Horizon. So, yeah, maybe we can chat on that a little bit. How likely do you think... I don't know. Sure. It's a weird question. I don't know.
Again, we've not heard anything officially about this. But I think increasingly it will be likely. Game development is only increasing in cost, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, Sony may not want to hand a great game to Xbox when that's the platform it's truly battling. But I think Sony and Microsoft, well, definitely Sony, don't see PC as a competitor, right? Someone who's going to play on a PC is going to buy and play on a PC, whether they have a PS4 or not, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it gives them a good opportunity to again, maximize the potential sales they can of a very expensive to make game. So I think eventually you could see this. You have to think about there's no, as it stands, as of today, there's no kind of platform heritage for the characters in Ghost of Tsushima, right? It's not like you look at it's not like you look at like Uncharted and Nate Drake and think, well, that's a PS4 game, right?
Yeah.
This is a new franchise, a new IP that could theoretically live anywhere. Mm-hmm. So I think I think you could see that happen. Yeah. You need to look also at Sucker Punch's past, though, as well. Now, they're not known for making PC games.
It's true.
But,
And yeah, sometimes you've seen developers kind of outsource the PC port, right? So yeah, like you say, it's potentially a thing. It wouldn't surprise me if it happens, but it'd probably be at least a couple of years down the line, I would have thought.
I think increasingly, though, you're going to see it happen. At least with Microsoft, their whole move this generation
For sure.
to be on every platform, right? And I think as that becomes a more popular way of looking at games, Sony will be under kind of community pressure, not only financial pressure, to follow through. So I think it's likely.
I think you're absolutely right. We'll close out then with this last question from Animal Breakdown on YouTube. Is the story very emotional? I cry easily.
I guess it could be emotional in the sense that, like, you're seeing a guy like really wrestle with losing his homeland, right? And Jin is, obviously very touched and hurt by that. However, the delivery can be so kind of stoic and samurai code that you can find it hard to really emotionally engage with them. You compare it to something like, one of the things I say in my review is that we've been really spoiled with open world games recently.
Yeah.
And if you look at something like Red Dead Redemption 2, for instance, just it's like the delivery is like on a Hollywood level of perfection, right? Now, Ghost of Tsushima looks very good. Its voice acting is good, but at some point there's been a directorial decision that they want this to be a very serious, very very serious game in line with that kind of samurai tradition. That might work in a 2-hour film. It's a little bit hard to stomach, for 60+ hours.
Sure, that makes sense to me. I think we should probably close it out there, Gerald. If you've stuck with us through our internet issues and stuff, we are very appreciative. Like I said, we are working on getting this live streaming thing down better. Part of that is me live streaming Ghost of Tsushima the first couple of hours this Friday from 5 p.m. So if you're interested in that, subscribe, hit the follow button, do all those fun things, and join us there. Where can people find you on the internet, Gerald?
They can find me GG Midnight at GG Midnight. So that's GEE Midnight. I'm sorry about that. It's a leftover from a younger version of myself. Upgraded. That's probably the best place to get it.
Brilliant stuff. And there are links in the description to Gerald's full written review on techradar.com. Please do obviously go check that out. And all that's left to say is thanks for joining me, Gerald. And remember to head over to techradar.com for all of the latest tech news and reviews. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.